Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Neighbors. One of the things I think that works best for a comedy in general, but especially for this kind of Apatowian wave of movies, not that this film is produced or executive produced or has any involvement from Judd Apatow himself, but he kind of represents a wave of comedy that Seth Rogen starring vehicles are very much a part of. Usually you need a clear premise, a premise that someone says, what is this film about? And like, this is the end. This is about celebrities in a house at the end of the world. That's simple, that's easy, it's very clear and concise. And these films work very well with that because they can improv off of this premise, and you can tell there'll be various comedic hijinks involved in this premise. Rather than trying to do a more plotted out, structured film that this kind of comedy was never really built to do. It's better when it's looser and simpler. And I think Neighbors excels in that. Seth Rogen, who plays Mac, and Rose Byrne, who plays Kelly, who have just bought a house in a suburban neighborhood with their newborn baby daughter, and there is a house next door that is for sale, and they're kind of maturing and realizing they can't go out like they used to now that they have this baby. And then a frat moves in next door, and they don't really like the frat and try to be friends with them and ask them to keep it down. And the frat asks them to call them if there's a problem with noise. And after they try to reach Zac Efron's character, who is the president of the frat, they try to call him several times. He doesn't respond, so they do call the cops and are at war with the frat. They do pranks on the frat, and the frat does pranks on them, and they go back and forth. And it's practically a collision course to wackiness. I wouldn't really call it a very well structured film, but it feels so well constructed. It feels like it knows exactly the right beats to hit, almost like there's kind of a precision. It knows exactly what to do with a simple premise like this. Like, it isn't trying to do too much with it at all, but it also has this theme of maturity going throughout it that actually works fairly well for it, and they don't ruin or put into weird directions. They get it to work within the family versus frat concept that the film is going for, both with Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne's characters, who are kind of realizing they have to grow out of going out all the time, and they have to stay home and look after their kid and get more into their roles of adulthood. Whereas Zac Efron's character and Dave Franco, who is the vice president of the frat, they're reaching graduation of their senior year, and Zac Efron's character doesn't really want to leave college. He's too focused on the frat. He doesn't want to grow up. And Dave Franco, who kind of knows that he's going to leave and get a job one day, he's been focused on leaving eventually and focused on the future, whereas Zac Efron completely isn't. And a lot of these, I don't know if it's an Apatowian wave or an Apatowian era or whatever it is, a lot of these films are about maturity. Whether it's Knocked Up or This Is 40 or Forgetting Sarah Marshall has that theme in it, Get Him to the Greek, even This Is the End, it's trying to be a better person, trying to mature as an adult and make a better decision. A lot of people talk about how these characters like Seth Rogen plays, or Paul Rudd or Jason Segel or whomever, are kind of these man boys kind of failing to grow up in this world. And this is kind of almost full circle, where he's playing the quasi-adult to Zac Efron, who's the younger frat guy who hasn't grown up yet. It's an interesting theme throughout all those films, and sometimes it can get a little too much, but in this film, I think it works very well. It shows a side to this the kind of frat genre that I've never seen before. This idea of aging, of maturity, and it makes it not just another frat comedy. I guess Old School did that also, but I think in this film it's more talking about both the kids and the adults and how it kind of reflects back about both of them. The simple premise, it's something I always read about when you read box office predictions, how if it's a simple premise, an audience will see it because they'll understand what it's about and be able to go, oh, this is about this, let's go see it. And if you can't, through the advertising, tell you what it's about, the movie doesn't usually do as well. And I think that's true in terms of this kind of a comedy, and having it this simple makes it so easily digestible, but in a way that like makes it more fun, because I'm just sitting back and laughing and having a good time. And I think Neighbors does that very well. I kind of think how well they do that in this film. Apatow, I liked it at the beginning, and then it seemed like it was trying to mature in a lot of ways with like Funny People or This Is 40. It didn't really exactly work. And then I thought with This Is the End, and you look at a film like Neighbors, they've realized that if you just keep it kind of a simple premise and just do, you know, the comedic hijinks off of that, they know that works a lot better, and you make it even better movie and a more commercial film. And Neighbors almost does that like too well, like a pop group who knows exactly how to write a hit song. But another part of me thinks I'm probably being too critical, because I had a good time. I laughed a lot. I thought it was a pretty good comedy. I think it was the best constructed mainstream comedy I've actually probably seen in a while, but it doesn't feel like they're taking on anything new. It just feels like they're really good craftsmen at making this kind of weird Apatow almost genre piece. They excelled in it so well that it is a good movie and they know how to do it. But should I be asking for something more? And part of me is like, I saw what you guys did when you did something more, and I don't like that, so maybe I should just be fine with this. And I think I am mostly, and I think most of the people who see Neighbors will be fine with it, and you will have a good time, because it's a damn good, funny movie. Seth Rogen's gotten a little better as of late of doing that. It'll probably be on the list of his better films as a leading man. There's certain parts people didn't like the breast milk scene and stuff like that. None of it really bothered me, and I didn't feel it was too off, to be honest. I think This Is the End is a little bit funnier, but I feel like this is better constructed. It flows better. It works better for its overarching theme. It works better with the premise than I've seen in a lot of comedies. There's certainly comedies that have funnier moments, I think, but it works better as a whole than I've seen a mainstream comedy do in a while. And before I went in, I kind of thought what this movie would be is exactly what it turned out to be, and I was really satisfied. I wasn't challenged, it didn't surprise me, but it gave me exactly what I wanted, and I was happy with it. And I think, you know, if Seth Rogen can continue to do that, I know he produced this film, he didn't write it, and Nick Stoller can do that, and everyone involved and do an Apatow movie like this, then there's nothing really wrong with that. It's still a good time at the movies, and that's really what Neighbors is delivering to you, and I accepted it, even if I am being a little bit of a snoot about analyzing and acting like maybe, you know, there should be something more there, but there really shouldn't. There should just be Neighbors, and I should just have a good time and accept it, and you should too, because it's a funny, silly, good mainstream comedy. So if you have seen Neighbors and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.